joining us today. It's so wonderful to see all your faces. I know we're all very busy. We will always do our best to capture all of these SPF talks and have those available on our YouTube channel. Are you guys all familiar with the YouTube channel? It's on demand. You can have it on your smart TV and just listen to it, or in your car, or just, on your phone. So please make sure that you go to the website, click on the YouTube icon at the bottom, and then we'll get those uploaded as soon as we can. We've got a number of SPF talks coming up, all three Wednesdays in January. This is our last one for 2025. I hope you guys have enjoyed these as much as we have. And we do, because, what we think is really important is that we capture all the information that we can find out about concerning HSP and PLS. And if it's a researcher that's doing a project or a proposal, then you've got that information and you can just kind of indwell that in your hearing. And then we've got the research papers that we're also uploading to our website. So we want to make sure that you guys get a chance to hear it and read it. And then if you got questions about it, let's just bring it back up and talk about it, because that's very important. But what's also important is that we are having conversations with subject matter experts, people that are living an experience, or can help us with living our experience. And I had the honor of having Javier and Justine participate with us at the annual conference in Washington, D.C. in October. And I have to say, we had such an aggressive agenda that I really didn't feel like I gave Javier due justice in providing the program. And he did. He had a great time. Everybody had a great time. We had wonderful accolades and appreciation. But I really wanted it to be in this setting, that we have an opportunity to hear what he has to say and the journey that he's on and the life experience that he's living, because it's something that we are also paralleling. So I don't want to delay anymore. If anybody has any questions, there'll be an opportunity for Q&A kind of at the end. But if you guys will give your all attention to Javier, we're going to give him the floor. Thank you so very much for coming on, and it's good seeing you today.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to come speak today, and thank you for the opportunity to go out to Washington, D.C. and be part of the conference. It was amazing. I'm going to tell some stories about that, the things that I learned personally. But let me introduce myself. I'm Javier Tuel from Toolshed Training, and this is Justine. She's actually, we're the owners of Toolshed Training. We've been in business now for 10 years, running this personal training company. Justine joined the team 2 years ago, yeah, and is now part of this company. But I was diagnosed with early onsets of Parkinson's in 2014, started in 2014 and got my final diagnosis in 2016. But that's how I kind of got into the neurological disorder training, what I do now. And then in the last year and 2 years, I've been training a couple people with HSP, and now it's actually picking up a little bit. I've got some more clients, and I'm learning that there's so many different kinds of neurological disorders, but there's one thing that we have in common, and that's fitness and exercise and movement. So today I'm going to kind of talk about like why fitness is important, some questions that have been asked of me through this journey. Questions that people will talk about, and then just a little bit of inspiration. But I do kind of want to talk about, and then also we call it the individual movement plan, workout plan. And that's something that we didn't really talk about at the conference that I think is very important, of setting goals for ourselves to help us stay independent, keep us driven, keep us in the community, and keep us social. So one of the things I want to talk about is movement as medicine. Why movement is one of the most powerful tools we have for neurological health. At this point in time, we all know that we're looking for that cure. And I know you guys are on the path and we're looking for it every day. But the one thing that we have right now is exercise. And exercise is something that we can do on a daily basis. And I'm going to pull up something real quick. So movement actually is safe with neurological conditions, and it's appropriate and guided. When it's appropriate and guided, movement doesn't damage the nervous system. In fact, lack of movement often accelerates stiffness, weakness, and loss of confidence. The key in choosing the right type of movement for that day is adjusting intensity and respecting fatigue. Safety improves when movement is purposeful and not random. The one thing I want people to understand is when we train here at Toolshed Training, or when you find a trainer, is finding the training that is for your movement. And I want people to look at the symptoms that we're dealing with. For me, my symptoms are going to be a little bit different than someone else. And I'll use Dina as an example. If you guys are at the conference, like Dina's symptoms are a little bit different than someone else's. But we're looking at is what can you still do? Look at what needs to be, what symptoms need to be worked on, and work on that individual plan to make sure that you're working on those areas that are really that you need to focus on. And if you can do that and find yourself a trainer or really to get to know yourself, you're going to see the things that you need to work on and put together a plan of action that's going to help you get stronger in those areas, which keeps you more independent and keeps you safe. What if my symptoms change day to day is another question that I get. And that's going to be normal. Neurological conditions are not linear. Some days balance is better. Some days fatigue is higher. That's why rigid programs don't always work well. Progress comes from having options, not just pressure. Adapting the plan to day to day is not quitting. It's training intelligently. And that means I'll use myself for example. One of the things that I deal with right now is my hand shakes quite a bit. And some days it's better than others, but understanding what I need to do with my programming to make sure that this doesn't get any weaker, any faster. And the thing that we talk about a lot is we're not here exercise isn't going to be the total cure for the symptoms, but it's going to help the symptoms hopefully not go any faster than they should. And that's the one thing we really talk about the most is exercise can help keep the symptoms from progressing faster than hopefully they should. And with a combination of the right medications and plan, hopefully that those symptoms stay away for a longer period of time. One of the next questions that I have, what if I can't do much? Does that still count? Absolutely. Movement counts if supports functions, confidence, and consistency. A short mobility session, balance work, or even gentle movements to stay engaged with your body matters. Consistency keeps the nervous system involved. Efforts matters more than duration intensity. So the one thing I want people to understand is, and I try to stress this, we're not, our diagnosis isn't exactly who we are. Like a lot of times we're not, and those symptoms that we have, I'm going to restart that. Okay. So there's going to be days that we can do things better than other days. And if it's a small workout, it's a win. And I think a lot of times when we see things degressing, we start wondering, are we doing enough? If you do anything that has to do with movement, with exercise, or anything that's going to help you stay mobile or keep you active, that is a win. So those days that you're not sure of just standing up or moving your legs or moving your feet or just doing a small bit of exercise isn't doing something, it really is. And I want you guys to understand that. And we're going to talk about what we're going to do to try to help you guys with that and help people with neurological disorders and people who don't have neurological disorders. Training with a neurological condition, what changes the nervous system is involved. What I've started to recognize and notice, and I want everyone to think about this, when I talk about what things are you capable of doing? With a lot of my new clients that I have, the first thing that we hear about a lot of times is things that we cannot do and things that are stopping us from being more mobile and independent. And I want to use one of my things that I deal with the most. And I will say Washington, D.C. was a blessing because I haven't been able to travel very, very much, or at least that's what I thought. And to get out to Washington, D.C., I couldn't get my star for my airplane ticket. So when I figured out I couldn't get my star, I was a little bit nervous because I was like, I can't go because I can't sit in the car for, how far is it?
Like 16 hours.
Like 16 hours, a 16-hour drive for us to get there. And usually for the last 7 years, if a 2-hour drive is almost too much for me to handle. And I got to do something real quick. I get a little nervous pretty quick. So I got to use a sweat towel every once in a while. So what happens is I've limited myself with things that I could possibly do. So I haven't traveled for more than 2 hours. It's limited me to see my family. It's limited me to do things that I would rather do, because if I go somewhere for more than in a car ride for 2 hours, it's hard for me to walk, to be honest with you. So to get out to DC was going to be a very big challenge. So when I figured out I couldn't get my airplane ticket, I was like, how do I get myself to get the confidence to do this? I started realizing I've been working out, I've been doing the things I need to do, but I haven't tried. So what I did was I got in the car, drove for 16 hours. It was one of the best trips I've ever been part of. It's been one of the blessings Justine had to put up with me for 16 hours straight. And when we got to DC, the next thing I was dealing with is I get really nervous that people are going to see my symptoms. And one of the biggest things of people seeing my symptoms, and I think sometimes people can relate with this, it stops you from doing something you want to do. And one of my biggest fears is eating in a restaurant. And the reason my fear of eating in the restaurant is because my hand shakes. So I have troubles cutting my steak, cutting my food, also eating. Sometimes food falls a little bit before it gets to my mouth. So the first day that we're at the conference, we go down to the restaurant, and we're down in the restaurant. And I think there was like a cow convention, a cattleman's cow convention going on that day. So the only table that we have is seated beside these big, huge, muscular cowboys. That's what I would say. And I was like, oh man, I was like, I'm gonna sit close to these guys. I'm nervous. People are gonna see me shaking. People are gonna see me like drop my food. And of course we get nachos, right? So the first day, number one, I'm in Washington, D.C. I'm nervous to speak the next day. So like, and when I get nervous, my symptoms happen a little bit more like right now. So I'm in there and I eat my first nacho and I drop my first nacho and I kind of drop it. And I'm like, oh my God, everyone's looking at me. And for a second, I was like, Javier, no one's looking at you. But I pick up my fork and I start shaking and I'm a little nervous again. But then when I look to the left of me, I see someone walking in with a walker. And then all of a sudden I see someone else walking in with a walker and I see people sitting at the table. I see people eating with confidence and I see people doing something that I'm afraid to do. And what I'm realizing is no one is watching me. And that's exciting for me. And the other thing is I started realizing I have been working on this skill because I actually spoke at the Parkinson conference, was it 5 years ago?
Yeah.
No. And the goal that I set for myself 5 years ago was to be able to cut a piece of meat without someone helping me, or cut a piece of meat and be able to pick it up and not drop it. Well, that day I picked up my fork and I picked up my knife and I actually cut something. And I realized something today, that I managed to work on something that was stopping me from being social. I actually got to look around the room and I got to see other people dealing with something that I'm dealing with, or feeling a little bit uncomfortable. And it was one of the most exciting things I've ever done. Matter of fact, my trip, I walked around DC, got to see all the things. That was pretty amazing. I haven't walked for a long time, and don't get me wrong, I felt it the next day, but it was an amazing thing. And to get back in the car and to be able to get out of the car and walk. Normally, I was like, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Like 10 years of fitness and activity have helped me stay mobile and stay independent. But you know what was stopping me was this. And so, like, I mean, I'm so grateful for the HSV conference because it just realistically gave me the courage to really get back out and start living my life again. And that's exciting. And that's where a lot of this stuff is coming from. And I'm going to talk about one thing while we're here. And I'll send this to you guys to actually talk about it. And it's called an individual workout plan. And I didn't really get to talk about this at the conference because well, number one, I was probably too nervous to talk about it. And number two, I think honestly, we just kind of ran out of time because there was so much good stuff going on. So this individual workout plan, we're going to pull it up for you guys.
We're going to share our screen just a second.
Is something that's helped me with being able to meet my goals. And I want you guys to not only use this for yourself, but also feel free to share this with your family members, because this isn't something that somebody with a neurological disorder can use, but for someone who is just has a goal or a goal set for themselves. Got it?
Yep. It just maybe not.
So I'm going to keep talking.
It's asking for our permission, so he'll just hold this up instead.
And we'll be able to send this out to you guys.
We've given you permission, so you might try it again.
Okay.
There you go. It's coming.
Perfect.
And with this individual workout plan, and I really wanted to talk about this today, and I really wanted to talk about it in DC because I feel like it's something that we could all work on a daily basis. This is something that you can grab and throw onto your refrigerator. It's something that you can use for a small goal or for a big goal. And on the top of this individual workout plan, and you can make this for yourself, you can call it whatever you need to call it, but this is just the start of helping us stay independent and work on things that are going to help us be social and not take away from ourselves and take away from others in our lives, because we don't think we can do something. So I set this goal of 4/15/2023, and my trainer, and you guys can see this for yourself, is actually me. So a lot of times you're going to be your own trainer because not everybody has a trainer. If you do have a trainer, that's fantastic, and I'm sure they're doing a great job. But for a lot of us, you are your own trainer. I mean, you're responsible for what you can do. And I set the start date of 4/15/2023. And my goal was to feel comfortable while eating with others in public. And the reason I actually brought up this goal was because I was at a wedding a few years ago. And at that wedding, my friends that were with me know that I have early onset of Parkinson's, and they know that I shake and have troubles cutting food. And I actually had to get a steak because there's only two options. And one of my friends reached over and actually cut my steak for me. And in most public places, that would have been okay. One of the issues is there was another family who didn't know who I actually was at that point in time, because this was the night before the wedding. And the first thing that crossed my mind is like, what are they thinking? So I was like, I need to set a goal to make sure that I can try to stay as independent as I possibly can with the things I can do, with what I'm doing, so I can go out in the community, not get nervous, be as independent as possible, and not depend on other people to help me with the things I can still do if I try to keep those things going. So to feel comfortable while eating with others in public. Symptoms, and this is where I want you guys to think about it. I'm not working on the huge diagnosis piece, because there's a lot that goes on with my diagnosis. What I'm working on is the symptom that's causing me an issue. And my symptom at that point in time was hand mobility and a tremor. So what I'm looking at is, how do I strengthen my grip and increase control over utensils? And then I wrote my steps: hand and finger exercises, stress ball, finger extensions, wrist exercises, grip strength, rubber ball, incorporate functional movements, dumbbell deadlifts, etc. Consistency, progression, and practice. And I will say nowadays, as research goes along and things like that, we're more capable of information. So if you need that information, you can actually chat GPT what exercises you need to do, or you can go to a trainer, or you can reach out to someone and figure out how to do the exercise that you need. But this individual workout plan did something for me. I'm going to go to the next slide. It helped me believe in myself again. It helped me. And honestly, I don't know if I knew how far I've come by working on this plan until I went to DC, until I was in that area. And then after that, now I actually, when I go, I even cut up my hamburger, I cut up my French fries, I cut up anything I can cut up with a fork and a knife. And that's been pretty exciting for me. And I think the thing that I think about, and as I'm working with, I'll use Dina as an example, is when you walk into a room, and I'll use one of my other clients because I know Tim won't care, is the first thing that we hear a lot of times is, Javier, I'm not going to go on this trip. Or Javier, I'm afraid to do this. Or Javier, I'm not sure I can do this. And the biggest thing is, what can you do? What capabilities do you still have? What capabilities at this point in time are you still able to do to make sure you're doing the social things that you can do, or the capable things? Because if you don't do those, you get left behind sometimes. And when we talk about exercise and fitness is one of those things that's going to actually help you stay stronger and help you stay independent to do those things. So one of the other questions I got that I thought was pretty, one that I needed to answer was, what about days that I'm exhausted or discouraged? On those days, exercise matters the most. On hard days, the goals shift from performance to engagement. Gentle movement, breathing, or simply showing up reinforces the habit of not disconnecting from your body. Encouragement and support of those days are critical and not optional. So the days that you feel the worst are probably some of the days that you need to do more, or do what you possibly can. So if you have a day where you're not sure, like you're just tired, or you feel like your diagnosis or your symptoms are getting to you, like try those days to make sure that you're doing your best to follow your workout plan, or go do something that's going to keep you mobile on those days, because it just does so much for you. How does mindset actually affect the nervous system? The nervous system responds to stress, fear, and belief. When people feel broken or hopeless, tensions increase, fatigue worsens, and movement becomes harder. When people feel supported, capable, and encouraged, the nervous system is more receptive. Mindset doesn't just cure conditions, but it changes how the body responds to them. So when we were in DC, I was up at the weight room, and I've realized this: in cities, weight rooms are a little bit smaller than what they are here. So we're in a weight room, and you can put 2 people in the weight room. And that's actually I think the capacity of the 2 people. And on the first day when I went up there was actually only Justine and I in the weight room. Mm-hmm. And then the next day when we went, we spoke and we talked about going to the weight room. The next day there was 4 or 5 people in the weight room. And I think one of the most incredible things was being able to surround myself with other people working out who are not only have a neurological disorder, but parents, spouses of people who had neurological disorders were actually in there that day, and they were motivated to come work out. So when you put yourself in an area with other people who are actually being mobile, who are working out and doing those things, it leads to more encouragement and confidence in yourself, because you feel like you're not being left out, and you're encouraged that you're able to do something. And I was watching and having conversations with these people, making sure, and it gave me that part of the community. So when I tell people, working out just doesn't help you just physically, it helps you with your community, it helps you physically, and it helps you mentally. So I mean, that's just one of those biggest things. How is Believe Stronger different than other fitness apps? And I want to talk to you guys about this movement that we have. And this is where I guess my confidence level builds a little bit, because what I'm doing now is what I would say became a movement in 2016, when I started to realize that not only with people with neurological disorders needed some more opportunities and options to work out, but people who didn't. So we developed a Believe Stronger app, and that Believe Stronger app is coming out in January 15th of next year. And the reason this app was even developed was, number one, my grandma's 90 years old. She lives in a very small town, and she doesn't have a big community. So every morning she sends me a message and tells me how far she walks. And one day she sent me a message and she said, I didn't walk today because it was raining. And I was like, I'll make sure I get you a raincoat so you can get out there and walk. And so that was one basis. So why we started this, because I knew she needed some things to do. And number two, we were at a
support group for Parkinson's.
Yeah. And there was actually only 3 people in this group. And one of the ladies looked at me and she said, I used to be so mobile and independent. She goes, but I'm not mobile and independent anymore. And she goes, I just don't feel like I have.
I think she said, I can't. She's like,
yeah,
I can't do this.
And that kind of got to me a little bit. So I looked at Justine and I said, we are going to create something that's going to help people have the opportunity without any limitations. So we actually started the Believe Stronger app. And the Believe Stronger app is absolutely free. It doesn't cost any money to anyone. We're actually going to fund it and support it. And hopefully in the future, we find people who want to actually sponsor it, which we already have 5 businesses who are willing to work with us. And on that Believe Stronger app, we offer 3 different workouts. We pull that up real quick. Let's see if we can get this to share with you guys.
You just want this.
Yeah. So this is what it looks like. And when we came up with the slogan or the logo just became something where this brings community together. And on this logo, this logo brings community, which we're going to continue to each week post things, little competitions for people to do. And the cool thing is they're universal competitions for everyone to be able to participate in. There's going to be a chance for people to come and talk to people. Like, you'll get motivation from us, motivation from people outside of tool shed training. Hopefully we pair up with people who have information about neurological disorders, new medications, findings and things, and we'll put those on a weekly basis. And hopefully we also get people to come and talk. And that's our main focus, to make this community. So if you have the function to go to a gym, keep going to the gym. It's not to replace that, but it's to enhance community and workouts. Next. And then
there's three functions of the app. And so one of the things that Javier was really passionate about is making sure that anybody would be able to do this. And so one of the features of it is, if you are not able to walk, or if you are in a chair, you're still able to work out. Every single workout exercise has the capability that you can do this while you're sitting, because not only is your leg strength important, but your arm strength is so important.
Yep. So we call it chair stability, and chair stability is the one where you're it's all the exercises are readjusted to make sure you can do those exercises in a chair. There's also stability, and the stability one is if you have to use a chair or you have to use something to make sure that you make modifications. And then there's one that's intense power, and the power one is, I think we use power for every one, don't we? The power one is where if you have capabilities to do all the exercises without adjustments, you can. And the reason we did this way is because I want the person who has a neurological disorder or someone who needs adjustments to be able to invite their friends and family. I want this to be a participation of everyone. And at the end of the day, there's also going to be a little challenges for each person. And those challenges will give you a chance to see how far you are, how you match up with other people, and how you've progressively gotten stronger and better. Another question I got and I'm going to talk about the app a little bit, is this meant to replace in-person therapy or training? No, it is meant to extend support beyond appointments. Many people only see professionals once or twice a week. The app helps bring the gap on the other days, providing guidance, structure, and encouragement when people are on their own. And that's the other thing I want to talk about. For me, and this is just a personal belief, I don't get to see my neurologist very often. So like every 3 months. So what I've had to do is I started using these individual workout plans to monitor my own capabilities. And that's the one thing I do challenge somebody who does have a neurological disorder. Do you understand your body and your capabilities? Have you seen a decrease, an increase in strength? Do you know where you were last year compared to this year? Because when you go to your doctor, they're going to look at you and ask you for that information. And if you have that information, it's going to help enhance your medication. If you're on medication, it's going to help enhance the conversation you have with your doctor, other than just relying on your doctor to come up with suggestions, because that information is so important. And what exercise does, it shows you the capabilities that you actually have and the capabilities that might be digressing at any time. And that's where I want to put more. When I talk about exercise, it's putting more on the person and the individual who has the diagnosis or the symptoms to understand what capabilities you still have, what capabilities that are getting stronger, what capabilities are getting weaker, because that's something that we can do. And I truly believe that it's helped me with my progression of not becoming so intensified, and getting the information that I need to the person who's helping me with my neurological disorder. So what if technology feels overwhelming? And that's true. Like that's a fair concern. When we talked about the app, we simply made it clean, no clutter, no pressure. It's designed to guide, not to overwhelm. Technology should not reduce friction or not add to it. So we made this app that we made is as simple as possible. I thought about my 90-year-old grandma, who we just got her on Facebook this year. We got her to use a computer for the first time. So this app is very capable of helping anyone who has any technology problems, including myself. If we saw a picture we posted the other day, I'm trying to figure this thing out, and thank God Justine's here because she's making sure that I do it right. But it's to stop the limitations from price to all those other things too.
I think the other thing with the technology is we also wanted to make it super simplified, even just like the equipment, beyond like the technology. So if you can only just walk, that's all you have, you don't own anything else, you can do that. But we'll put things in there that'll enhance so you can walk, because if that's all you can do, that's all you can do. And so we really try to make this super simplified and take out all the background noise that it seems that it's not even with apps, but with going to a gym or joining a class or a workout program, is there's so much background noises, and it's not very inclusive to everybody. And so that was one of our biggest things, is we wanted to make sure every feature in this would be beneficial for everybody.
I want you guys to know this isn't a sales pitch, because we're not making any money off of it.
No,
it's just something that I'm so motivated to make sure that we can spread the word about movement and activity. And one of the things we talk about, and not just, is consistency over intensity. And that's it just in life. Why intensity comes and goes, but consistency builds strength. If you're consistent with your workouts, you're consistent with how you think, if you're consistent with your eating and you're consistent with those things, the body stays stronger. It helps the mind stay stronger. It helps the soul stay stronger. So when we talk about that, that's what I want you guys to think about when you think about movement. It just adds to all those pieces of things that we have going on in our lives. And then the other thing I think about too, when we were given a diagnosis, I used to think about this, like, when is the ball going to drop? And if you were at the conference, you heard Dina talk about this. Like, we can't live our lives waiting for that ball to drop. And I think a few years ago, it really hit me that what I needed to do was understand when I wake up, do the most I can each day and live my life for that day. So I try never to miss a workout, because I feel like every day that I have that workout is an opportunity for me to stay a little bit stronger. It helps me stay a little bit more positive. It helps me stay a little bit more inclusive with my family and my friends. It helps me stay a little bit more inclusive in community and not get left out. And I'll give you another example. Last weekend we went to a wedding. And one of the things at this wedding, I was in the third row, which never happens. But I was talked into sitting in the third row, and I had the program in my hand, and I'm watching this program shake a little bit. And now I'm setting a new goal because I want to be able to do it. But no one was staring at me, but I thought everyone was. For a second, it crossed my mind. But then I thought about the conference that I was at. Just remember, Javier, no one's staring at you because everyone's looking at the bride and groom. No one's staring at you. So again, that gave me an opportunity to think about what can I do to help myself set some more goals to make sure that when I go to these places, I have the strength and capabilities not to feel that way. And I just use exercise as an example again of understanding what capabilities do I still have. Like I'm still able to do a lot of those things. Aging and strength, why strength matters as we age. So when we develop, so when I talk about working out, I'm not just talking about somebody who has a neurological disorder. I'm talking about aging. And sometimes when I talk about my symptoms or my neurological disorder, I just tell people sometimes I'm aging a little bit quicker. And that's so in order to help the aging progression, I want to make sure that I'm doing the things that I'm still capable of doing. And those, it doesn't have to be the most intensified workouts. If you can actually walk for 30 minutes a day, it says it enhances your life by 70%. There's studies that show that. So it could be as simple as doing air punches, doing a yoga class, a seated yoga class, doing any function of movement that can possibly help you stay active, which helps you with the aging process. So when I talk about who is exercise really for, it's for people who want to stay moving, who want to stay independent, want guidance without judgment. They want to continue to move and keep encouraging themselves to do things, to feel less alone in the process. And we use that app as we kind of use the motivation for our app was for real people with real lives, not highlight real fitness. And what you're going to see on this app is most of the people who are doing the exercise on this app are people who are dealing with more than just normal everyday life. We're dealing with neurological disorders. You're seeing us do the exercises seated. And I know these exercises actually really work because a few years ago I sprained my knee, and for 6 months I sat in a chair and did these exercises and created these exercises that way. So all these exercises were created by us doing these exercises. Dina's been nice enough to be one of my studies on all the exercises that we've created. And then what's one thing I can start doing today? And I tell people, pick one small movement and habit to attach to your day. Mine was as simple as doing this every day. Doing this, doing small motions. Do 5 to 10 minutes of gentle movement every single day. The win is just showing up, not doing more, just doing something. What's the biggest message I want to leave is you are not your diagnosis. Your body is still adaptable. Support makes consistent possible. Progress is built by continuing to show up and not being perfect. So the things I want you guys to really understand, and if I could come across with exercise and fitness, exercise is going to keep you as mobile and moving as possible. And I think it's going to help create a more positive mindset. And the more and more I tell people, and this is coming from a personal standpoint, the more that you can stay strong, the more mobile you're going to be, the less you're going to feel left out. And when I say left out, a lot of times we choose not to do things because we're afraid. And that also affects the people in our lives. So when you wake up, your movement's not only for yourself, it's also for those around you who are supporting you. It's also to make sure that you guys are able to do the things that you guys want to do on a daily basis with the best of abilities that you really have, and that you are not your diagnosis. So when we talk about these plans are so simple, but so big. And they don't have to be big. Like I said, it can be as simple as just cutting a piece of meat with a knife, or being able to walk into a restaurant, or to walk into a gym, or work out for the first time, or realistically really understanding what your symptoms is and what your capabilities are. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today.
Javier, you have absolutely hit it right on the head. And I so appreciate having this opportunity to hear this, because when I'm at the conference, I'm running around crazy trying to make sure that everybody's in the right place. But I've got a lot of things that I want to mention and add to and even ask questions about.
Yeah.
But let's just open the floor for anybody that has a question. You guys, please feel free to raise your hand, or, hit the little raise hand thing down in your pop-up menu, and then they'll populate who's first in order. Anybody have a question for Javier or Justine?
So you got the app.
I have the app. So I got the app
Already.
Right.
Yes, awesome.
It
But
works.
Javier, I wanted to ask you a question. You said about or how Dina had said before the foot dropped or whatever, before the big, she was talking about being in a wheelchair. Well, what if I'm already there? I'm already in a wheelchair.
But I'm use.
Right. So if you're already in a wheelchair, I want you to think about this is what capabilities you still have. And this is the one thing that we really thought about. And I'm just going to use the app for an example, because when I was at this support group, I saw somebody who went from being independent to a walker, and now she was getting closer to a wheelchair. So my whole thing was, how do we make sure that you're still using the rest of your body that you can still use, and even using those legs as much as you possibly can? So there's still capabilities that you can do. And if you wait for that ball to drop, so what else could happen if you don't do the other exercises, if you don't work those other pieces of your body, if you don't do the hand workouts, if you don't do that, where are you going to end up? And that's what I want people to understand, because there's so much you can still do for yourself. And if you take away a portion of your body, there's still other pieces of your body that you can still use, that are keeping you as independent as possible, and not always relying on someone to do other things that you're still possibly to do. And that's where I think Dina was really talking about it, is because if you wait for that ball to drop, there's more than just one piece of your body, or one piece of your life that might be taken away. So like I was talking to Tim the other day about this. So he's afraid to walk through an airport. But I looked at Tim, like he's got balance issues. Tim, at this point in time, you can still walk through an airport.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, are there still things that you can still do?
Mhm, mhm.
Yep. And if there's
Okay.
and I don't want you to forget that. And I try to tell this as much as I possibly can. There are still so many things that you can possibly do. And I know there's things that you want to do that you may not be able to do with the physical capabilities that you have, but remember the things that you still can do. And please, please, please don't forget those things.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Hey, Javier, in the chat box, there's a couple of questions there. I don't know if you can see those. You can feel free to grab them, or I will be glad to ask those questions. One is, will you be able to drop it in the chat, please? And then the others, will we be sending this out to us? What I'd like to propose, if everyone is agreeable, Justine and Javier, is we would like to create on our website a place where people can download that form. I think
Yes.
that is so important. And as well, we'll be able to maybe use your graphics and maybe even kind of link our website over to that app, if everyone is agreeable to that as well.
Absolutely.
This is absolutely very important, you guys. And you may think, okay, why? It's exercise. I don't really want to get up and exercise. I don't really want to do this. I don't really want to do that. But the most important thing that you can do is to keep yourself active, not only your physical activities, but your brain activities. There are some things that are coming out with our clinicians and our researchers and our translational doctors, and they are going to want us to keep up with almost like a journal. It's a biomarker, basically, studying of what you are able to do with yourself. So when you go into the doctor's office, you're going to be able to say, I've been doing these measurements.
Yes.
So, like Dr. Fink came to the conference, right? And he did like a gait study. Well, you kind of know how you feel. And every day it may be something different. You may not feel the same way every day. And I'm that way, right? We're all that way. But the most important thing is to stay active, stay mobile, stay transitioning into the mindset that if they've got a therapy that can help me regenerate my neurons and stop the degeneration of those neurons, am I going to be able to get up out of my chair, out of my bed? Am I going to be able to get up and move? And we believe that there is that technology that can help those things happen. And some of that we're funding right now, and you guys can catch some of that on our YouTube channel, but it's that neurostimulation. And that may become more and more important as we go on and as we move forward. So keeping yourself active, keeping yourself mobile, keeping your brain saying, I can do it, and never give up is what is key to what we're doing. And Javier, I so appreciated the fact that you had some of those first moments on your trip coming to DC, because I think that was absolutely divine.
One thing I want to talk about real quick, if I have a second,
Oh
is
yeah, please go ahead.
what the other thing that we're doing with this app is we're capturing as much data as we possibly can, because I think what a lot of people don't always understand is the research that's going on for all these neurological disorders. If we can have the research of someone who's working out while they're taking these medications or on these things, that helps the research team. And if you are on a medication that's working better when someone is working out or staying strong, that's going to show and inspire other people to do it. But that also helps those people get funding. And one of the things that we've talked about, we actually talked with one of the doctors there at the HSP conference, and it really made me think. Some of the questions that you'll see on the app is to capture data to say, so I'm 57 years old. I've lost capabilities of walking at this point in time, but I'm on this medication, but it's helping me still keep strength in my upper body. I'm seeing progress in these areas. That's going to help people to understand that maybe the combination of this and this is helping with progression of this. And that's the thing that we're really excited about. And I think going out to the conference, it made us really understand the data that we're looking for most neurological disorders is what can we do to enhance the research, and what can we do to enhance what is working versus what's not working. So, and the age groups are going to be huge. The diagnoses are going to be a big thing. The capabilities are going to be the other thing. And it's going to be, and what are you doing to help? And that's the one thing that we're stressing the most. When I talk about knowing your body and understanding it, when you went to your doctor the last time and you were asked a question of, did you know the answer? Like, how are you doing and how did you respond to that question? Because one of my clients, the first thing they do is a cognitive test, and all of a sudden he's able to talk about his cognitive abilities, but he's also able to talk about his physical abilities, which enhances those doctor's appointments a little bit more. So what we're asking for is when somebody joins this app in the next few months is put as much information as you possibly can. And that's not for us to sell the information. It's not for us to give the information to someone else. It's for us to have a general study to say, hey, at this point in time, someone who is using this app at this many times or working out this many times a month and is on this medication, we're seeing progression with this. We're seeing progress with this. We're seeing progress in that. And I think that's what all of us are looking for. And we are looking for a cure, but we're also looking at this point in time is for progression of making our symptoms less, making the diagnosis less, I guess, big in our sense, but also making sure that we're doing something to make sure we're giving the information that's needed to help with the research.
Thank you, Javier. We also have a question up here with somebody's hand. Scott, you got a question? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, and I'll just come on camera as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Merry Christmas.
I like the
Merry
Santa.
Christmas. Yes, thank you. No, so obviously I totally support this. And the other thing, again, just for me, again, I was one of those folks who was able to walk a Tuel. Now I'm really dependent on a wheelchair, right? So again, I was able to walk. And what I'm saying is I support this. But just for the folks on the phone, I'm lucky enough. I mean, in Phoenix, Arizona, there's a group, Ability 360, that I reached out. I felt confined to my chair, being in the chair, and what can I do? Am I stuck in the chair? And I was able to reach out, and maybe you can in your own state or city, where I found an adaptive program, sports, where I'm now playing wheelchair tennis.
Yes.
I've never played tennis before. I'm doing adaptive wake surfing. I mean, I get used to too, but never to the fact of like an able-bodied skiing or surfing. And mentally, it's changed my mind as far as all of the capabilities that I can do. It's making me stronger, both physically and mentally. So, I mean, it's been a really game changer this probably past 2 years. So, again, just for those who are on the phone and feel like you're stuck or you can't do something, there are other ways that as your situation evolves, adaptive equipment are out there for you to engage. Right? Is the message that I want to send.
I like that.
I love it. That's amazing. Congratulations to that. I keep doing it. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no, I mean, trust me, it's been really it's just been really grateful to have this experience. So I encourage you all to step out and you see other folks that are not HSP, but other paraplegics or other disabilities, that are in the same, they're in the same boat that you as we are once we're feeling, and they're out, and so it's a good community. So again, just wanted to share my story.
This morning I have a young man who uses LFOs, and he came to me with one goal, and he wanted to play golf in college. He's on the varsity team at Simpson. This morning he deadlifted more weights than he ever deadlifted, and those are the kind of stories and things that we see. It's because all of a sudden you don't give up.
You believed in him.
Yeah, and he believed in himself. And that's the one thing that we talk about. Exercise and fitness is such a big thing because, Tina, you talked about today, there are some capabilities that we lose, but there's so many capabilities that we still have. And I want you to realize, just like being able to play tennis, that's amazing. I love it.
And the other thing, I mean, I have took this step, your app, and I'm just kind of curious of it, just for the fact of, people on there. Is there in the app, do you have ways to communicate with other members?
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
community is very big on the app. So
that was one of the biggest things that we were looking at as we were producing it, was making sure that people still have the opportunity to talk to each other. So if somebody's like, I'm in Iowa, and I always want to find something that's going to help, being able to contact you, or someone say, I saw that you did this many reps in this exercise. Because a lot of times we feel, and I'm blessed to be in a place where I see people every day, but when I leave here, sometimes I feel alone.
Sure.
So a lot of people that I deal with, the last few years, I've had more people with neurological disorders, but I don't have a big friend group of people who have neurological disorders. So there's a lot of conversations that I don't really talk about. So we really wanted to make sure that was a capability, that people had the understanding that you could talk to other people about something you're going through.
And I'm not sure if that's open yet. I will say, right now, when you download the app, it's just the light features. But then in January, everything will come up. And I know there is a community chat on there, and then I think we'll have community links that will be available in January. So yeah, community is very big.
You guys will see a lot of me.
Javier, we also have another comment that someone wants to make. John Swain, go ahead, sir. Unmute. Thanks,
All right.
Scott. That's very important.
Thank you. When Scott had mentioned finding a local group that help people with disabilities, there's tons of them all over the country. I actually just returned from the Hartford Ski Spectacular, which was in Colorado, and helped people board and ski with disabilities of all kinds. And the organization that put it together was Move United. They're a national organization. They might be international, who knows? But I'm sitting in Hampshire. I'm going to be skiing tomorrow, and I'll be skiing with a group called New England Adaptive Sports, and there's several other organizations I deal with. So if you're looking for one, just Google Move United, and you'll have all your options there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think that's what gets me really excited about being in this process of bringing people together. This is just such a big thing to be able to hear your guys' stories, and to be able to be part of those stories, and be able to provide something that's going to help people really have that community sense.
Does anyone else have any questions? Anybody else have any comments? Can we reverse things, like exact start to walk again by exercising?
I want to talk about Dina on that one really quick. So the one thing that we talked about Dina is when she walked through the door, and we're not going to be, exercise isn't the cure, but what we call exercise is what we're going to say, it's going to hopefully stop the progression of the symptoms to happen any faster than they possibly should. And that's our goal, is when somebody walks into the gym, and even with me, is hopefully the capabilities don't go away any faster, because we're building that strength. And that's the main focus of the app. That's the main focus of our training, is to keep the symptoms from getting any worse any faster, and try to keep the capabilities that we have as long as possible.
That's so important. I mean, this whole entire conversation is so spot on, because of all the things that we have been talking about and working with our researchers, and this conversations about biomarkers. It's going to become very, very important that you, as Javier had said earlier, is they want to be able to determine if a medication is going to be working for you. And how are you going to know that unless you know maybe what you're able to lift, maybe what you're able to walk, what the distance is? All those factors need to be calculated and kept up with, like in a journal. Matter of fact, it's one of those things that after we came back from the conference, we got our survey team back together and we're talking about how do we put into process what may need to become something similar to a journal. Maybe it's this exact individual movement plan or guide that Javier has. I mean, I had a conversation just this week with one of the doctors about the neurostimulation, and he's doing a survey and he's wanting to ask you, what symptoms are you right now dealing with? And what is the number 2 symptom that you're dealing with? And then how do we figure out how to make something better with that symptom? So unless you can really kind of isolate it out, is it strength? Is it weakness? What do you need to improve? And even little tiny baby steps. I don't really mean stepping. I mean progress. That is so important. And those are the things that we need to start figuring out. How can we become more proactive in our own healthcare? And I think that's one of the things that we're going to be focusing on at the conference this next year: health and wellness, ultimate wellness. How do we need to take all of the things that's in society and make that work for us, whether it's exercise or food or any kind of devices that may be available? So, those are the things that you're going to start hearing us talk about as we move forward in the coming of the new year. Anybody else have any other questions? Let's see. Does your app include stretching exercises?
Yep, it will. And then there's one
from
above it.
Stephanie. Stephanie, the one thing we talked about is it's going to take a little bit to get the fatigue. So doing the small exercises every day is going to help with that fatigue. But it's just consistently just doing them on a repetitious basis. Each day doing what you can, and hopefully each day just doing a little bit more.
And Brenda, you are so right. You don't use it, you lose it. That is absolutely so important. Anybody else have any other thoughts or comments?
I had one more comment.
Okay, go ahead, John.
I'm always full of comments, but if I can say something and someone says, well, if it helped him, then it can help anybody. I've been going to Dr. Fink for I don't know how many years, and the last 10 to 15 years, he has told me I have plateaued. And every time I leave, he goes, John, I want you to continue skiing, dancing, playing hockey, and whatever else I do. And I do the stretching. One time he told me to wake up in the morning, do a big stretch, be at the office, stretch every hour for like 5 minutes or 2 minutes. And at the end of the day, before I go to bed, do a big stretch. I won't say I'm perfect, but I'm doing something. And every year I've been plateauing. So that's at least some motivation to do something.
Awesome.
Like when you were mentioning, maybe you can't do everything. You just got to do a little something. There's some days I might just roll my legs and then say the heck with it and go to bed. But it's something rather than, in an ideal world, I do 5 or 10 minutes, but, I'm doing something.
Yes.
Miss Sue, you got a comment? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a question. Like I've been going to PT, and every time I go, it's like you end up with exercise after exercise, and I think sometimes you end up overdoing it. And I just like, how do you find the magic combination? Is it by time or, because it's, I don't know. I think sometimes we exhaust ourselves, and you're like, oh, I didn't do those stretches.
Right. One of the biggest things is, and when I call it symptom management almost, is finding the exercises that are working on the areas that you need to work on the most, not forgetting the other areas, but really concentrating on those. Like I'll use again, Dina or Scott as an example, is that when we work on the exercises, there's things that we work on more than other things. Just like Dina's legs right now, we need to keep those as strong as we possibly can. So we're doing deadlifts, stretching, and we don't work on in the upper body stuff. We don't work on as much, but we still work on it. But there's just things that I don't want to say are a little bit more important than other pieces of that right now that we're concentrating on. And then just making sure that you find that balance, but really understanding what symptoms or do we need to really attack at this point in time?
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
And one of those symptoms can actually be fatigue,
Yes.
right? One of those symptoms can be, it's just a bad day, or it may be something that you consumed that changed your thoughts, your body. It had an effect on you. So I think that's what's going to become really important as you guys start thinking about, if there is a medication, how are you going to be ready for it?
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of really the bottom line of the things that I'm hearing from all these doctors when they spit out these words about biomarkers and they spit out all these words about how they're going to rate this and have these scales and, how do we get ready for that? And that's what you guys, your homework is to start thinking in terms of how do I measure these things? That's what we were talking about with this survey group, that we're talking about how do we put together something that can be maybe it's in your purse, it's in your wallet, it's in your computer, maybe it's on the app. These are the things that can track your progression using some kind of a journaling tool. It could be something fun. It could be something that you like to write in, like a crafty kind of thing for that matter. Something that, is a functional scale. You're looking at symptom patterns, things that might happen, the quality of life measurements. All those things are very important. And what this does, it helps to build out the discussion so that when you go into the doctor's office and you can say, here's what I did in March of 2026. And I was really weak and I really couldn't do these things. But as I started and continued, here we are in July or maybe October of 2026, and you can do so many more things. So that way you can say, this is what I've done. This is how I've been growing. This is how I've been progressing. And this is how I am fighting this disease every step of the way. But then if there's a medication that comes out, then you got all this data about yourself. And then all of a sudden you're taking this medication, it's dripping into you in some way. Maybe it's a pill, a shot, a drink, whatever it may be. Then you're going to be able to go, but okay, am I improving? Is this making a difference? You go to the doctor, and after you've been on these medications, they want to do all those panels, all those blood panels. And then they decide, how's your liver doing? What's going on? Is this medication going to affect your liver? Well, all of those things are important because you've got to figure out how does it affect you, because every medication and every activity is going to affect everyone differently. And we want to make sure that you're getting the medication that is actually going to be what your body needs. And the only way for you to know that is for you to be able to journal it and then prove to your clinician that you either need to stay on it or it's not working and you need to be looking somewhere else for a different enzyme or medication. So I think those are very important. I think there's more questions over here in the chat. You guys see those? I could walk 6 months ago, several months. I got a personal trainer. Now I can walk. I was an athlete. I read my report because my neurologist moved. I figured out my diagnosis 2 weeks ago. Hallelujah. Good for you. Glad you were able to do that. And Brenda said, I took my dad 10 minutes to walk in the bathroom with a walker, but he did it because he didn't want to be all the time in a wheelchair. That's absolutely right. Any of those little bitty successes are successes. And we can't turn our backs on those things and keep ourselves pumped and ready to go, because I think there's going to be some changes and we want to make sure that we have gotten, or we're getting you ready to take a compound, a medication, any kind of therapeutic, biologic that may come out. And so this is wonderful, Javier, Justine. Thank you so much for everything. I believe, and I am so happy that we were able to have you and Dana and the relationship that you've had, the videos that you've done, the work that you have just mounted yourself from your own resources. And we look forward to partnering with you guys and finding ways that maybe we can do more conversations like this and have something that's really, pinpointing exactly maybe a symptom, and then have some more conversations about these along the way.
And just remember, every day when you wake up, tell yourself that you believe in yourself. And that's hard for you. You either find us or you find somebody that's going to help you do it.